will submit. Ayn Rand made the point, someone was talking about the Holocaust. There was something said about the Holocaust and the fact that there was a coincidence of bad conditions and a really bad guy, Hitler. The bad conditions in the 20s and 30s in Germany, and then Hitler came along. And Ayn Rand said Hitler didn't come along. She said bad people, they can smell it when an opportunity arises. When the people want a dictator, they can smell it. And she said they'll crawl out from under rocks after centuries of sleeping, and when there's an opportunity, they'll be there. So that's where they come from. There's no question of where do dictators come from. They're always ready. There are always some opportunist there who will, without compunction, put 1 million people to death. It's the question, are the people willing to accept it? That's the only question at any point in any society, ever. If the people get to a point where they're willing to accept it, someone will crawl out from under a rock and give it to them. Islam is giving it to Europe. America's not there yet. We are quite secular, in spite of the activities of our nefarious president. And the slogan that Christopher Hitchens, I should say, when he got sworn in for his citizenship, he got sworn in at Monticello because he has the same birthday as Thomas Jefferson. So otherwise, he said it would have been an overly bombastic gesture, but as it was, he felt it was a good statement to make. He was sworn in his citizenship at Monticello, and there's a saying. The Congregationalists of Connecticut have written to Jefferson and said, we're afraid of being prosecuted religiously. Will you please do something for religious prosecution and so forth? And Jefferson said there will always be a wall, forever, a wall between church and state. And Hitchens takes that and he makes it his new slogan. Mr. Jefferson, build up that wall. Sticks in the throat a bit because Jefferson's dead, and yet we hearken to him and say, buddy, we hope you did a good job, we hope you got some good principles for us here, we hope the country that has been working on your principles for the past 2+ centuries is ready for a battle, because we need to separate the church from the state. It's important. Mr. Jefferson, build up that wall. It's important for me and you to support this and to speak out against religion and not just say that's their business, but to say, it's your business, but I think that you're wrong. It's your business, but you should be an atheist. It's your business, but religion's pretty nasty stuff. Now, there's no more benevolent area on the planet for religion than the United States of America. Everywhere else, religion is different. It used to be the case that religions in Western Europe were more benevolent than American religion even. We've at least got evangelicals militarizing children in the name of Christ and some crazy, stupid, terrible stuff. They didn't have anything in Western Europe. Now they got Islam. So now America's as extremist as some areas are. It's the mild place for religion today. Even Ontario has got problems. We got Dearborn, Michigan, and we got Cleveland, Ohio, and some other areas are bad hit for religious fanaticism of Islam. We got that going on, but it's the area of the world that's going to be free of religious intolerance, if any area is. Mr. Jefferson, build up that wall. So I believe the reason that Islam is more popular in Europe is because they are forced and encouraged to hold on to their culture. They're forced and encouraged. They're told they're not Frenchmen, they're third-generation Moroccan immigrants. Like in Germany, you're not German, you're a third immigration Turk. Now, the Ideas of Ayn Rand by Ronald E. Merrill. It's mostly just gossip. I don't remember too much, and it suggests Judaic symbolism in Atlas Shrugged, which is silly. Maybe it's there, I don't know. I don't know enough about Judaism. I mean, there were 12 people on the last flight out of New York to Atlantis or whatever. some things like that. Now, on the question of morality, I found his writing on that to be more crystal clear and clarifying than anything that I found in Ayn Rand's writings anywhere, or even Peikoff's for that matter, possibly. I have to go over it all again to say that for sure, but I do remember this as being very cogent when I was studying all this years ago. And a quote from page 99, "Well, given this," asks Rand, "why should there be any morality at all? This is, of course, a normative question, so let's rephrase it in factual terms. What would happen to a man who practiced no morality? In other words, what does morality do for us?" I don't think that we can answer that question without some knowledge of what morality is and what should be. So I don't think he's going to get too far with that question, but he says, going on, "A man who practiced no morality would be a man whose behavior was guided by no rules at all." Now we bring in an implicit assumption there that morality is therefore a set of rules. Even Aleister Crowley's morality has a rule: do what thou wilt. But our hypothetical, literally amoral man could not follow even his whims consistently. So we know that morality is simply a system of rules to guide human behavior. He would have to behave as if his brain were connected to a random number generator. What would happen to him? He would, of course, quickly die. This suggests that the connection between factual and normative statements is man's life. Man's life connects the factual to the normative. And normative means value. A normative question is a value of what should be, what ought to be. Man needs morality to live, he asserts right here. To revisit, this suggests that the connection between factual and normative statements is man's life. Man needs morality to live. Now, we're coming to a definition of what morality is. Just sort of, I mean, you have to have Ayn Rand in your pocket, and this is in a book about Ayn Rand, so you better have it in your pocket. Man needs morality to live. Man ought to do certain things because they are necessary in order for him to be. He is because he does what he ought. So much for the dichotomy between them. So an ethics would be an ethics to provide man with life. Now the skeptic might say, well, you're assuming that I ought to choose life. Life is the implicit value in your pocket when you walk in the door. The life of the individual who's acting. The skeptic might say, you're assuming that I ought to choose life, but what if I don't? And it's tempting to reply, says the author here, as in effect John Galt does, fine. If you prefer death, shut up and die. But this is inadequate. It refutes the arguer, perhaps, but not the argument. It is not enough merely to demonstrate that altruism is a morality based on a premise of death. So if morality says otherism, and the ethics of humans is what oneself ought to do, altruism by definition is morality of death. We need to make a positive argument to show that morality must be based on the standard of human life. Morality must be based on the standard of human life. How's he going to prove that? I believe you just have to have that. You just have to have that. That's called self-esteem. You can't, we'll see what he says here, won't we? But you can't argue your way into saying morality has to be based on human life. If someone wants to act on a morality based on death, they'll do it. And you can't say that it has to be based on human life. You can say that they'll fail and they'll die, but if they don't want to live, that's that. So all you can say is people who want to live. You can further say that people who don't want to live, people who don't accept your morality, are a danger to you, and you can ban them from your country by law and military might. Now, saying that we need to make a positive argument to show that morality must be based on the standard of human life. To my mind, Rand's argument for this position is insufficiently rigorous. Not rigorous enough. However, I will assert that her line of reasoning is basically sound and that it can be put on a very strong footing. Skip down just a bit here on page 100. Rand asserts